Well, I'm always amazed when I read Genesis chapter 1. In Genesis chapter 1, the Lord is talking about creation. As you know, chapter 1 is all about creation. And after the fifth day, he says something very interesting. He says that he created men and women. At that time, he didn't even create Adam. He says he created men and women. And he's talking about that the man leaves his family, mother and father, and sticks by his wife. So he's talking about the very essence of the unity of men and women. At the time that he didn't even create Adam, not even create Eve, but he's talking about the creation being mainly Adam and Eve, men and women, and they're going to be in a unity. So he's talking about this before even the creation. What does it tell you? You've done as much as you can. The market is here. I think you can see that my marker is dark and all the background is blue. So just follow the dark, follow the black. So he's practically talking about men and women because the idea of the Creator was not to create Adam, but to create a family. You got my point? So God did not create a man.
Okay. So God did not create a man. God created a family. So the holy family is a concept in the mind of the Creator even before He created Adam. And that's why when we talk about the family, we're talking about the unit that God the Creator wanted to create. So He didn't just create Adam and then created Eve. Why I'm saying this? It's because there is a very artificial distinction between men and women. This is very artificial. And who is the best? This is very artificial. And who is leading who? This is very artificial. اتفعل عليك اتفعل عليك. So God did not create Adam or Eve. God did not create a gender. God created the family. And because of this, the family is the essence of the creation of the human nature. And when He created Adam with a very interesting way. I think you know how He created everything. So He created everything with a word, just a word. So He said, let's be light, light. Let's be dark, dark. Let's be earth, earth. Let's be water, water. Let's be animals, animals. But when He came to man, He had a model made in dust. And then He gave this model a life. We all know the story very well. But when He created the man, He said, I'm going to create the man with a very special feature that is not with anything else. What is the special feature? That the human being will be in His liking. So when we say that we are in his image, do you think that God is a man or a woman? Uh-oh. Is he tall or short? Uh-oh. Is he dark or white or Caucasian or what? Uh-oh. Does he have 2 eyes and ears like us? Uh-oh. So what is his liking? What is the liking of God in us? Love? Oh, well, animals can love. If you have a dog, he loves you. Thinking. Thank you. The thinking. This is the brain of humans. And in the brain of humans, there is this very frontal part which is missing in any brain of any animal. So with comparative anatomy, you will find that there are different shapes of brains to different creatures, but when it comes to the high primates, in comparative anatomy of the brains of the high primates, they don't have what we call the prefrontal cortex, which is very unique to humans. And until the late 19th century, we didn't know what this prefrontal cortex is all about. And if you read in the history of medicine, you will be surprised. هو اللي بيطقطق ده؟ It's very distracting, يعني مش عارف بيعملوا ايه جوه. You will be amazed because they didn't know what is this until the very famous accident that happened in a mining in America. And in this accident, somebody was working in a mine. You know the story. You're nodding your head. So he had an explosion, and in this explosion, an iron bar went through his eyes to his brain and went out from here, and they thought that the guy died. They took him to hospital and stuff, and he did not die. So they done surgery and he lost his eye, of course. He did not die. But do you know what did he lose? His personality. So this part of his brain was damaged, and as a personality was changed, completely changed. And until now, we have something in medicine called frontal lobe injury. If there is an injury to this part of the brain, whether it is an accident or surgical or radiotherapy or anything like that, if there is a damage to this part of the brain, the personality changes. So what is personality? Personality has many features, but I will just focus on one thing, that is the power of judgment, which we call the logic. So the logic is here. The ability to think is here. The ability to reason is here. And this is what is so unique to human beings compared to animals. So animals will have sensation and movement and hearing and vision and everything else, the other areas of the brain, but they don't have reasoning. You cannot sit down with a dog and reason with him and get his opinion about the politics of the United States. So what is happening, that God created us in his liking, and God does not have a body. So the liking is not a body, but the liking is his ability to think and be logic. And this is why we are so unique. So when God created the human, he created Adam and then gave Adam the dominion over everything else. And God, in his infinite love, created everything, didn't give them names. So he allowed Adam to give them names. So God created something big, so Adam came and said elephant. Can I ask it? So, and then he said, this is called the Red Sea, and this is called whatever. So it was Adam who gave names to plants and animals and everything else. And after he finished that, he told him, now, creation of humans part 2, I'm going to give you your other half, and this is Eve. And I like how he started. He said, it says like that, and the Lord said that it's no good for Adam to be on his own. But Adam had so many animals and plants and fish around him. But he was lonely. Why? Because there is no one like him. He was very lonely. What does it mean? It means that the man on his own is lonely, is not complete. الراجل لوحده ناقص. The man without his partner is incomplete. So he said, I'm going to give him a helper. A helper means on his own he is incomplete. So when there is a helper, so is the helper complete? No. So the man alone is incomplete and the woman alone is incomplete. But the fusion of both is complete. And this is what the Lord has created. So the Lord did not create a man, the Lord created a family. And this is the beauty of the creation. And why I'm saying the beauty of the creation? Because the man and the woman, when they form a unit, no one is better than the other. The idea that somebody is better than somebody else is actually absolute. هي زعلانة مني مش كده؟ The fact that sometimes people say the man is better or the woman is better, this is totally against what God done. What God has done is a creation of a unit called man and wife, and this unit is equal. It's formed of two people who are practically equal to each other. And because they are equal to each other, they can form a fusion. Although each one of them has a different characteristic altogether. Each one of them has different each one of them has his own gifts, his own abilities, his own capabilities, but no one is better than the other at all. Both are extremely important to each other, and both are extremely equal to each other, and no one is better than the other at all. And as the man needs the woman needs the man. And it reminds me with a soccer team. Do you know the game of soccer? Have you ever played soccer? Good? So when you play soccer, you know that there are different players in the soccer team. Each one of them has a special talent. Each one of them has a special talent. And this special talent is important because at the end of the day, the goalkeeper needs the striker, and the striker needs the defense, and the defense needs the midfielder. If they are not all playing together with the spirit of one union, they will actually tear apart the team, and the team will definitely lose. What is also interesting, that when the team wins, they don't say Mo Salah wins, but they say Liverpool team wins. You got my point? And when the team loses, they don't say it's a player who lost. They say the whole team lost. What does it mean? It means that man and wife, once they become a team, once they become a unit, once they become amalgamated together into one, it's a one unit now, they either together succeed or they either together fail. So no one can look at his wife, for example, and say, because of you. No, sorry. No one can look at his wife and say, look at the kids, your kids, as if they're not his kids. Your kids done whatever. It's your kids as well. And if they are good, it's good for the two of you. And if they are bad, they are bad for the two of you. If they succeed, it's both of you succeed. And if they fail, it's both of you fail. The idea that, I was outside working most of the time. Really? You were doing a certain job important to the family, and she was doing another job also important to the family. At the end of the day, both jobs are very important to the family. So no one can say, I'm better than the other. No one can say that men are better than the other. Actually, in the last, I would say, 30 years or so, I shouldn't say all, but a good percentage of the studies talking about family violence. You heard about family violence? Hello? You're too quiet. No one is stopping me and arguing with me. Abuna, I have angels. They are really good. No one opens his mouth. You're lucky, Abuna. Okay.
بريتو فصلتي رولة.
ما سمعتش دي. Good. I want this.
Because of this point, because you say it's if they fail together. What about men with like domestic violence? Like how it's him who's violent or her who's violent. Are you suggesting that the other part has to put up with this? So that means that it's a failure of both, or that's an exception?
Thank you. Very good question. I don't want to talk about family violence because family violence is a deviation from normality. But I'm talking about what is normal. But this is a very good point that we need to revisit maybe at a later stage. It's a very, very good point. But family violence is a deviation from normality. What is normality? Normality is men and women are equal, full stop. They are completely equal. And the theories of family violence, there are a good percentage of them talking about family violence happens when there is what they call gender dominance. So men thinking of themselves, I am dominant here, which is absolutely wrong. The man is not dominant and the woman is not dominant, but they are both equal in a relationship. And they are both equal in forming the unit that God created. Equal, but each one is doing a different job. So I will...
To add fuel to the argument. Just want to add some fuel to the argument. Why do you normally stigmatize men for family violence? Aren't women also involved in the family violence? It's only men. Do you agree with me that there is passive aggression that leads to positive aggression?
I'll read a passage from the Bible to answer this. And let me ask, if we're saying that men and women are different, although they are equal, so how can you characterize the man, the husband, in the relationship? What is he doing? And why is he different? He is the leader. What does it mean? انتم موافقين؟ You're the leader. طبعا حاجة جميلة. He is the leader. Okay. What does it mean? Leading what? To where? And why? Leading his family to reach Christ. Wonderful. Why? Why is he the leader and not her? Because he's the head of the family. Why? Sorry? Sorry? Women are emotional and men are thick-skinned. Which is very important. Men are thick-skinned. And you know what does it mean? Sorry, Abuna? Thick-skinned means that they are less emotional. Yani, they can tolerate, they can put up with things, they can put up with disasters, they can put up with stress. Look at the man, look at the woman, and they face the same problem. There is an accident. Their house got burned down. But sure, but the house got burned down. So what will the man will do? Cry? Not really. Well, first thing he will do, he will try to look for solutions and go here and go there and do this and do that. He will be deeply, deeply affected. And the woman will be, first thing she will cry and scream. And then she will think with him. At the end of the day, they both will think, but he will be less emotional. That's why when God has created man, he gave him a hormone to make him thick-skinned. And he created the woman with other hormones to make her more emotional. So at the end of the day, the man and the woman are a very good unit. The man needs this emotionality. Without it, it becomes very dry. A man and a man living together, one will kill the other. They will just fall apart. And a woman and a woman, very emotional, living together, one of them will kill the other as well. Because it's not possible, two women living together, that one of them will kill the other. So why I'm telling you this is because the man has a given role, doesn't mean he is better than the woman, and the woman has a different role, and it doesn't mean she is better or less than the man. Coming to the passive aggression, the passive aggression is very important, but it will not happen unless there is an aggression to start with. And the passive aggression could be from the man and from the woman. And we sometimes blame the man in particular for gender inequality, but actually women can be as violent as. I have seen women cutting to pieces their husbands. So it's not always men, but mainly men, unfortunately, because of the wrong understanding of their role. And why I want to talk about the Bible, is it possible at all to have the Bible here? Can we get Ephesians 5:21? Thank you. You know, this is a very famous passage. This is a passage that the church has organized to be read during the matrimonial service. So it's a very important passage. Thank you. The epistle to the Ephesians is a very interesting one, and it talks a lot about very practical things. And I think all of you know it very well. You read it several times. You studied the Bible several times. You know what I'm talking about. When it comes to chapter 5, he was talking about a few things at the beginning of the chapter. And then at the verse 21, saying something very important, talking about submitting. I want you to remember this word, submitting to one another, is not specific to anything, to anyone, to the other. He is now generic, but he had to qualify that in the fear of God. And this is very important. خاضعين بعضكم لبعض في خوف الرب. So the submission is in the fear of God. It's not any form of submission. And I love when we say it in English that submission is not servitude. الخضوع ليس خنوع وليس عبودية. I'm just saying this in Arabic, so it becomes more descriptive. So it's not servitude, but it's submission. And we'll come back to this in a minute. Verse 22. Hello? Okay. Wives, submit to your husband. Uh-oh. This is what all men know, and they stop here. They don't continue. Okay, what's the rest? Submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. And this is very important. So it's not a submission full stop, otherwise it becomes submission to Hitler. But this is a submission that it has a very clear quality. It's as to the Lord. And let me continue. If he has stopped at as to the Lord, it would have been open to different interpretations. So people might have said, we submit to the Lord in everything, 10 commandments, so the husband is the 10 commandments, whatever the husband says is 10 commandments, and we have to submit. No, not at all, not at all. So what did he say? For the husband is head of the wife. Beautiful. Most men know this very well. As also, and this is very important, so he is the head of the wife. And let me talk about the analogy. There is a head for the body. You agree? So when we say he is the head for the wife, so the wife is the body. You agree? As Christ is head of the church. So he is now taking the role of the husband completely out of the social context to a biblical context. So he's saying he is not just the head, he is the head like Christ is the head to the church. Someone might say, طب he is the head of the church, so what? He is the head of the church. No. What did he do to his body, to the church? And he is Savior of the body. Means what? Means the head of the church, the head of the body, Christ, has offered himself as a sacrifice to do what? To save the body, to save the church. Okay, husband, he will kill himself and sacrifice himself to save his wife. So what is the role of the husband? Save the wife. So the husband is the head. No. He is the savior of the wife. That's why during the ceremony, they put on him the robe of the priest. You've seen that? This is not for the beautiful photos, but this is because they want to tell him, you are the man responsible to save your wife. So if I don't save my wife, I failed. I'm not the head. I'm anything else. I have failed categorically. My role is to save the wife. And St. Paul is very, very clear about that. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, church, the body, is subject to Christ, the Savior. So the wife, the body, is subject to her husband, the Savior. So if the husband is telling his wife to take heroin, she will not follow suit. And I'm not telling you a fantasy story. I've seen this with my own eyes. I have seen husbands giving their wives heroin. And wives would say, I had to take it, he's my husband. Yes, that's totally unaccepted. Because when you submit in the journey of salvation. You don't just submit and that's it. You submit in the journey of salvation. Husbands, love your wives. So the element of love here is a commandment. So to be the head, to get the submission, you may think there should be a love. And this love is like the love of Christ, up to the cross. Love your wives as Christ loved his church and gave himself for her, that he may sanctify her. So the role of the husband, the role of the head of the family is to sanctify her. So the aim of the leadership here is to sanctify her and cleanse her with the washing of the water by the word, that he may present it to herself, where the church having no wrinkle such thing. طب خليك معايا وبعدين نتكلم في التليفون. Husbands ought to love their wives as their own body. He who loves his wife loves himself. Now he's talking about the secret of unity. If the husband and wife are a one thing, as the Holy Book says, so if I love my wife, I'm loving my own body. And then he says, yes? No one ever hated his own flesh, nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does to the church. For we are members of his body and flesh and bones, Laura. For this reason, a man leaves his father and mother and joins his wife. And it's not only physically, but it's also morally. Means in terms of priorities comes wife first. Someone might challenge and say, but actually the Lord said, honor your father and mother, that's a commandment. True. But he said the wife comes first. You still honor mother and father, but the wife comes first. Given all of this, it will be so easy for the wife to submit. The wife is a human being, and me, I'm a human being. If I know that somebody loves me to that level, and he wants to sacrifice himself for me, if this person tells me whatever, I'll follow suit. Because this is an amount of love and dedication that is very hard to be opposed. But if the wife feels that there is a strong ego between the two, and each one is looking after his own self-interest, it will be very difficult for the wife to feel. It will be very difficult for the wife to feel secure. I'll finish because time is running. I'll finish by saying something very important. I said at the beginning that men and women are similar in many things but different in hormones. Is that right? So men and women, when it comes to hormones, men have a hormone that makes them thick-skinned, means much more stable inside, تزعلوش, much more stable inside, and much more, you know, when you're more stable, you can think a little bit more clear. It doesn't mean that women cannot think. They are wonderful thinkers, and they have very high quality of thinking, but when they are emotional, sometimes they rush a little bit. Men are less emotional unless they get angry. And anger, men and women, blind people, and that's why we say that people are blinded by anger. Men and women, if they become emotional, angry in particular, they are blind. They cannot think properly. They cannot make proper decisions. But women have other hormones to make them a little bit insecure. And this is very normal for a woman. She feels that she needs this kind of containment, this emotional containment. So when she lives with mommy and daddy, she feels contained. And then comes Mr. X, and he's Mr. Right for her, and she feels comfortable with him. What is comfortable? She feels contained. She feels that she can rely on. She feels secure and safe with him. And this is very important. Until comes the day when she feels that she is not safe or secure. This is when she will have her close up. And she becomes so aggressive, passive-aggressive, overt-aggressive, whatever it can be, once she feels not safe. And how can she feel not safe? A long list that we can talk about, but it's mainly feeling that she is not the priority for the man. Once she is not the priority for the man, she feels insecure, she feels unsafe, and this is when she becomes much more aggressive and violent than the normal woman. There are lots and lots of things to be said, but to finish, the second time I say to finish, but this is the last time, I promise. To finish, I want to say, so if this is the normal dynamics within a normal family, what makes it Christian? What makes it Christian? That the aim, the goal is to reach heaven. And the man is the leader here, taking the whole family behind him and go to heaven. Means what? Means the man knows the road to heaven. So the man is exactly like Abuna, knows the road to heaven. And he's taking the whole congregation behind him. The man in his house takes his wife and the kids to heaven because he knows the road to heaven. And this is a very important characteristic of the Christian family. And this is different from other families. I'll stop here, not to miss my flight. I have 2 seconds for a question. There is not, okay.
You were saying that a man and woman are equal, but where does the children come into the equation? Are they equal to the mother and father, or are they less?
This is coming at a later stage. We are just talking about the essence of the family, that's man and woman. When we finish talking about the proper dynamics between them, we're going to talk about kids. This is very important. This is why they get married. But how they relate to each, we talk about that at a later stage. God
بسرعة قبل ما الطيارة تطير.
لا الدين جزء منه كبير إيمان، والإيمان إيموشن. فأعتقد معرفش يعني أعتقد اللي بيليد الفاميلي اللي ربنا أكتر الست من الراجل. بس ده المرة الجاية بقى.
أشكرك على السؤال جميل جدا. تسمح لي اختلف معك لو سمحت لي؟ يعني الإيمان مش مشاعر. الإيمان يولد مشاعر لكن مش مشاعر. الإيمان دي حاجة تانية خالص. أبونا هيكلمنا عن الإيمان المرة الجاية، مش كده أبونا؟ لأن الإيمان يولد مشاعر لكنه مش مشاعر. فالإيمان عند الأب بيسيح على الأسرة كلها. إيمان قوي جدا جدا، وهو اللي عارف طريق ربنا وماسك فيه وبيسيح على الأسرة كلها. اتفضل.
Can you please translate it?
Translate. Okay. He is talking about faith in God being emotions, and women are more emotional, so women should be the leader to God. And I respected him to the maximum, and I told him, would you allow me to differ? And he was kind enough to allow me to be different. And I told him, I don't believe that faith is emotions. Faith might lead to emotions, but faith is not emotions. Road to God is a journey that the man should be an expert in. So the man is the expert in the family, how to take his family to God. And because of his very strong faith, the whole family will follow suit because he is the role model of this family in faith and Christianity. All right? Thank you very much. I got to run.
شكرا دكتور سمير. آمين الليل دكسا باتريك يوكي. مستقبل ماريا قوم من بخريستوس بالموتي يا المسيح الأهم ملك السلام أعطينا يا رب سلامك establish for us your peace and forgive us our sins and listen to us and preach you thankfully and say our Father who art in heaven. We thank Dr. Samir very much for his labor of love and wish him a safe flight, and looking forward to seeing him next month. And now may the love of God the Father and the grace of his only begotten Son and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you. Go in peace of the peace of God be with you. Amen. No.